welcome to Flipping the Switch. My name is Rachel Ellison, and I am an associate professor from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. I'm going to be talking about how I made some changes in one of my courses during the craziness of the pandemic, and I hope you enjoy this presentation. Thank you. When the pandemic first happened in early 2020, it changed our lives, and as it progressed on further, it continued to change our personal lives, but it also changed our lives in education and academia. The program that I teach in, Health Services Administration, our program is fully online. So with that, we didn't really have to change much with the way that we delivered our courses. But what we could tell was the way that our students were affected by it. So in the courses and just in the daily interaction with them, the students were less engaged. There was less enthusiasm with learning, and even the interaction was different between students. Even with myself, the students were not emailing as much. They didn't seem to care too much about assignments. Even, sometimes they didn't care too much anyways, but I could tell that some people were falling behind, and just the overall atmosphere, because of what was going on in the world, it was really having an effect on them. And normally the students have been, pretty vocal with me. I'm the program director. And so normally I would have a lot of interaction, a lot of emails, a lot of meetings, but it changed a lot when things were changing around them in their family life, their personal life, their full-time jobs. So I could tell in our courses that things were a lot different. So that's what made my brain start thinking about how can I change things for our courses? How can I get the students excited again about what they are doing in the courses, in their education, and maybe even help them, maybe close off some of those outside thoughts or those things that are going on, in their head, and get them excited again about their education and why they are in school. Trends in Healthcare is the course that I have been teaching for some time now, but it's also the course that I decided to flip and let the students take the lead role. It was an asynchronous course, but I decided to flip it into a synchronous course. And I'm sure some of you have done this and are very experienced with it, but it is something that was new to me. And I've read about it, and I've heard many, lectures and presentations like this about it. And I decided to do it, to jump in head first after seeing what was going on with the students. And I thought this was the perfect course to do it in, just because of the situation with the pandemic and the upper level course that it was in the program. This is an upper level course, so these students are almost to graduation, so they've been in the program for a while, and they have a really clear understanding of what Health Services Administration is, and have the foundation and the background of healthcare. And like I said before, the program is fully online, and it was an asynchronous course that I just decided to switch it to fully synchronous. And this course discusses current topics and trends in healthcare. And why I like this course so much is because every time I teach it, it changes. So based on what the healthcare environment is like, sometimes it can be kind of boring and because not much is going on, but as you know, the past few years it's been rather exciting. There's always something going on now with the pandemic and vaccines and the access to healthcare and population health and some of the things that we have been discussing recently is diversity, women in healthcare, CEOs, executives, salary disparities, COVID-19, access to healthcare, vaccine hesitancy. Also, we listen to podcasts a lot. I love podcasts, mostly true crime podcasts. That's what I listen to almost every night. But, and this, of course, we don't listen to any of that. But before I switched the class over, I would have the students listen to healthcare podcasts. I would let them choose one, and then they would discuss it with the class, or they would write a paper on it. But with switching over the course, we still were able to listen to podcasts, and then we would have some really great discussions about it. Really in-depth and detailed things came from the podcasts and the discussions. But what I love about this class, again, is just the variety, different things of healthcare that can be discussed, and actually healthcare in general. And then this program, healthcare isn't going away. It's here to stay, and specifically non-clinical. There's always going to be a need for CEOs, CFOs, managers, supervisors. And I'm not saying that the clinical people can't do these jobs, but there also needs to be people that have more of a business background to do those jobs as well. So there's always something going on in healthcare, and there's always going to be something, policies that need to be updated, laws, ethical things, financials, insurance. There's always going to be something to be discussed, to be debated. And so this course I thought was such a great course to flip and to switch from asynchronous to synchronous, because it really has a great way to be able to get the students more involved and engaged and to discuss the important things that are going on in the world. The process of flipping the switch and the class to asynchronous to synchronous was fun and a bit of a challenge, but it was good overall. So basically the first step was getting the students to buy into the change. There was a lot of hesitation and some pushback from a lot of the students because they wanted to have everything stay the same. They liked that they could just log in whenever they wanted to, complete the assignments, submit them, and just be done with their weekly assignments and quizzes and whatever they had to do that week. So it took some convincing, but once we got past that, things started to move along. Then with the schedule, since we were asynchronous before, there was no schedule at all, except with, due dates and everything. But with the schedule, we had to set specific times that everyone had to come to class. So with online learning, it's somewhat difficult because a lot of my students, they work during the day. We have non-traditional students, and they tend to work 9 to 5s, and they have families at home, so they mostly do their learning, and they do their education and assignments at nighttime. So there was a little bit of an adjustment. Not everybody could come at the set time, so we did have to move things around, and it was flexible. The courses or the lectures were recorded, and we really worked together to try to come up with days and times that everyone could come together, or the majority of everyone could come together. The next part was groups. So with flipping the classroom, you don't have to do it this way, but as I was reading the literature, I saw that the groups were kind of the majority of ways that people had set this up. So I decided to go with the groups, and broke the class into different groups, and set them up so then they would work together, and I kept the groups for the entire length of the class. This was done randomly. I'm not sure if moving forward, well, I have done this every time, but I've been thinking that maybe I will choose groups, but I did do a random grouping of the students, but I might choose, or I might let the students choose. I guess it all depends on the dynamics of the students. And then setting expectations, my expectations for the students, and then also the expectations that the students have for the overall class, and also the expectations that they have of me. I think that it's great to have these down on paper. I think they need to be discussed. The students need to understand that this is not a free-for-all, that they need to come prepared, that it's important that the students know what is expected of them for every single class meeting, and what needs to be done. So I guess once all of these things were established and the students understood what was going to happen as we moved through the course, once the groups were all set up, expectations, the setting of the schedule, I let them go, and students got to pick different topics. I would set topics, they would choose topics, and there was requirements before each class meeting that the students would either have to read the article, answer questions, etc. And the students would take the lead, and we would use Zoom, and we would just interact that way, and we would meet and we would discuss. Sometimes we would have discussion questions. These would be provided beforehand. I would be the moderator. Sometimes it was difficult to get people involved. Sometimes it was not. During things regarding diversity, a lot of really thought-provoking conversations came from this, and it was so great to see students actually interacting with each other and having their own thoughts heard. I would also ask them to come to the course with other resources and literature to back up their thoughts and their findings. This wasn't just all opinion based. This was facts. I needed facts. this just wasn't a free-for-all. They just weren't in there debating and arguing. This was actually real content, real facts were provided, real information, especially with COVID and the vaccines and how important science is, and no fake news and all of that. So it was very professional, and students respected each other, and it was very thought-provoking. And I thought that for the most part it was great, and the students really did a good job. And I will have to say, in the groups that were set up, there was a leader, and that leader kind of stood out. I didn't ask them to have a leader, but you know how groups tend to be. There usually is a leader, somebody with kind of a dominating personality or a strong personality that just kind of takes the lead and kind of takes charge. But it was an interesting process that I think could work in many different courses, but with this course in general, the trends, because there are a lot of different topics that we were discussing in the course, and it just fit. And I think the students realized that as well. I want to discuss the challenges that I faced while flipping the switch for this course. I would say probably the biggest challenge was participation. There was pushback from the students at the beginning. As time went on over the course, I would say most students did accept the change, and they were happy with the way the course was going, and they were engaged a lot more. Now, I can't say 100% that all students felt this way, but the majority of them did kind of get on board with it. But there were some students who chose online learning for a reason. They chose the program for a reason, because it was fully online. They knew most of the courses in the program were asynchronous, and this is why they chose Health Services Administration program, because of the fully online, and that they didn't have to come to campus and so on. So the participation was a little bit of a challenge. Another one would be the students working together cohesively. I surveyed the students after the first time that I did this, and I asked them questions about, how things went, and, a variety of different things. And a few of the comments were that this was the worst group experience that they've ever had. But I think that we all know, when working in a group, that it can be positive, it can be negative, or it can be in the middle. It is not always enjoyable, but I think taking from every experience, good or bad, we need to learn from it and build from it. It can be difficult when people don't see eye to eye, and this is something new for them as well. So there were some issues, specifically with some people who don't get along and so on. So I understood the comments. Sometimes things just don't work out, but it's a learning experience. Also, for me personally, with this, the challenge was the assessment piece, like how should they be graded. I did get some assistance with some rubrics. There's great information out there on rubrics and assessments and how they should be graded on these flipped classroom approaches and what sort of grade they should get for this group work. So that was a little bit of a challenge for me as to actually how should I grade them. The first time that I did do this, it was a little bit more of a challenge, but as I've done this a few times now, it has become easier and more structured. And then a little bit of a challenge was having the students choose the topics or having myself choose the topics. The first time I let the students do it, mostly I would, moving forward, I think that it needs to be maybe more that I'm going to choose the topics, depending what's going on in the world and in the country regarding healthcare. There needs to be a little bit more structure in how things are done in the course, but of course, we need to keep doing things. Practice makes perfect, but these were just some of the challenges the first time that I had done this in my course. Like I mentioned, I surveyed the class after I implemented the flipping the classroom approach, and overall the outcomes were positive. The students admitted that it did increase student engagement and morale was boosted. Personally, I felt that students were interacting a lot more. They were reaching out to me. I received a lot more emails from students regarding this course and the topics and questions. I was so happy to be getting questions about the different topics. They were asking Dr. Ellison, what about this? Should I talk about this vaccine? What about this? About population health? And it was really nice to start getting those emails again when, at the beginning, it just wasn't the same. And I understand why, because of just the state of the world that we were living in. But then when, the second term rolled around and I was teaching the course again, I wanted to hopefully do something to, boost the students up and to just change a little something in the class to, help them feel more engaged, to help them, get excited a little bit about what they were learning, help them learn something new, let them feel like what they're actually doing is helping or just doing something different, that they weren't just used to the same mundane or routine things that they were used to. One of the comments that I received was that this particular student felt they were in control once again, meaning that they felt like by presenting or having more of the student-centered approach in the classroom, meaning they were able to choose the topic, present the topic, they felt in control. And that was an interesting take for me, because everything else around them in life, like, we don't have any control in a lot of things, but they felt that they had control in this instance. They had control of what they were doing in class. They got to discuss what they wanted to discuss. They got to present on something that they felt was important. And I thought that it was great that they were comfortable enough to share that with me. So overall, I thought the outcome of the flipped classroom approach was great in this course, and I was happy that the outcomes were positive. What I learned from this experience is to evolve with the needs of the students. It was really apparent to me that the students needed a change, and I felt like it was the perfect opportunity to do that in the course, in the Trends in Healthcare course, and also to become comfortable with the uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable for all of us, the students, for me, but it's not easy. Life isn't easy. Teaching isn't easy. Online learning isn't easy for everyone. So we need to give ourselves grace. We need to give students grace, and especially during the pandemic, none of that was easy. So I think that we need to take that mindset and move it forward with everything that we do, and just be kind, and whatever happens, happens. And during that time with this class, it really has showed me that students can evolve, and I can evolve as an educator, and to really just slow down and to listen to my students and what their needs are. And this was challenging, but I also learned a lot, and I plan to continue to do this in this course, and maybe in some other courses as well. So thank you for listening to this presentation, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Have a great day.